As part of my series making Gothic Armour for beginners, I decided that I would make some floating Gothic elbows. This is a first for me because I've always done shell articulation instead of floating elbows. But I figured because it was a single piece construction that this might make it easier for a beginner. I'm not completely happy with how they turned out. I had some issues with cracking, and I think next time I might make them as a two-piece construction style like DeQuitum did his, which is also historically accurate. And while these were based on surviving examples, my overall historical accuracy wasn't that great. But if you want them, templates are in the description. Now that I've cut my plate out, I've done some lines on it, my plan is I'm going to fluting like an inverse flute on the outside heading in along these lines, which it's the middle and an inch, and just lining it up so that basically it's going to be a bit of a flange that's an inch wide around each side of the elbow cop. I'm going to do those first. Do basic chisel fluting. Check out the video on chisel fluting or basic fluting if you want to know more. So I'm going to be basically doing an inverted flute from the outside, fluting inwards on these lines. Then I'm going to flip it over and do a flute up the middle, but I'm also going to flute this little bit of a lip, because when we dish this and overlap it, this is just a little bit of extra overlap in case it would really suck to go through all the effort and have just a tiny little 1 mil gap of light shining through. So yeah, we've added this little bit. Gonna flute that as well, just to kick it out of the way for when we roll it around. And so yeah, that's the first pass. I'm going to do another pass, clean this up because this is on the outside. Then I'm going to do that side the same. Alright, I've done that. I've popped a screw in there. I've made sure that they really marry up quite well. Oh, yeah, give that a little tap. But yeah, I think I might actually redo that flute line. I'll be careful, because yeah, we've got a crack forming there, so I'll redo that flute line. Might put a flute line back into that. So I don't know. That might be better to maybe not do this crease before dishing it and folding it. Maybe the chisel fluting's part of what keeps causing these cracks. So I don't know. Maybe when you do it, maybe don't put that flute in until you get to this point, and maybe you'll have better results. But yeah, gonna reflute that, and then it's kind of just a matter of turning the edge using this chiseled flute line on the edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna essentially just hammer it and flare it out after I roll it over, of course, to try and get it closer to this shape. Now I've got it nicely curved, pretty similar to my other one. It's going to open up as we flare these out, so doesn't have to be perfect because it's not going to stay that curved. So what we need to do now is, because we've already got this kind of fluted creased line here, the plan is, using the sharper edge of the anvil, basically you can feel that, line it up. What we're going to do is going to use plastic hammer. We're going to try and flare that out a bit, and yeah, we'll have to adjust and bend it back as we go, little by little, angle it out. Now we're flaring it out all the way down, and we're kind of like tapering off the flare around here so it still kind of comes out. Yeah, that side's a bit better. This side needs a bit more work done on it. Now, because I've gotten both sides evenly bent out, it's removed that most of that twist. Maybe just a little bit of it left, but should be alright. I just need to now roll that again because it's opened up a bit, but I'll just bend that over something and just slowly just curve that around until it matches this one. Alright, so this is how it looks attached to the arm. There are alternative upper and lower attachments you can do to it, but no, I'll just flip it over and show you. I forgot to film the rest of the process, but now historically on this style of arm harness there would be a strap that is typically riveted to both the upper and lower part of the arm, and you would tie the elbow on. However, because I wanted to make this design more modular, and so they could more easily upgrade the elbow and the van brace, it's only a demi or half van brace, I would be able to swap out components more easily. I flipped that over, and so now the elbow cop is riveted to the strap, and I lace the other two. Really should lace it the other way around. So yeah, those are the components, because they can unlace from each other. It's modular. I can swap out different components if I want to upgrade, so I can upgrade them. But yeah, you just tie them together and that all goes on as a single unit. Honestly, I reckon I should probably lace it so it goes up through the van brace and pauldron. So I think I'll in future swap it around so that the lacing goes inwards instead of out. See how that works. If the knot on the inside is annoying, I'll just switch back. But I didn't film the next steps. Obviously, I've heat tinted it. We have a separate video on how to do that. And yeah, so essentially what I did was put my spoiler on, and I worked out where along the arm basically this would sit, and from the center of the spoiler kind of worked out the path I wanted the inner strap to take. On this one it is, from the point, I made it like 5.5 inches down. I put 2 rivets on it so that it maintains the orientation of the strap, but also if I want to make this more historically accurate, I can grind out those rivets and have tie-on points, because historically, yeah, it would be a strap connecting the fan brace and spoiler, which worked out to be about where I wanted to attach my buckle. So I got a little bit of a buckle there, but a very long strap to strap it on with. I kind of feel like I probably should have made this longer and this shorter, but having that
so short and this so long helps with making it so I can wear it with or without padding. Because without padding, if this was shorter and that was longer, see, essentially, if I have it without padding, I need these holes down here. If I need it with padding and mail, I need these holes up here. So that's why it's kind of crazy long like that. From the end of the strap to where the split is 4 inches. Now you might be wondering why it's split like that. The easy answer is because every single original I looked at had this split strap thing going on. And as best as I can tell, when it's split like this and it's on your arm, that kind of gives it more points of contact with your arm, so the strap helps orientate the plate of the cop on your elbow, so as your elbow bends, it stays balanced, because those straps are applying pressure there equally, so it doesn't flop from side to side when it's on your elbow, and it bends when your elbow bends, which is a rather ingenious little detail that, honestly, if I was just making this up as I went along, I would have just attached a rivet and had a single strap, then mine wouldn't have worked as well. So it's always great to go and have a look at the originals, because there's so many little design details that you wouldn't come up with because they're not obvious, but they're just ingenious with their little details, because they had hundreds of years to develop these things. And of course I trimmed off and rounded the overlap, because, you know, as you would have seen in the last scene, these were different lengths and it was all ugly, so yeah, just rounded it off and evened it out, popped in some rivets, and, you know, that's all really self-explanatory. Oh, and for the length of that strap, essentially the length I went with was just enough so that you wouldn't be able to see where it's tied on, so the strap doesn't really extend out past, well, okay, the points kind of go a bit over the edge, but they're going to be on the inside of the plates. Essentially what I wanted was so that where the holes to tie it to the strap were going to be would be hidden underneath the elbow cop, so you wouldn't be able to see that it was done in a historically inaccurate way as easily. Someone might be able to figure it out. Basically, to try and hide from the outside that I made a historically inaccurate modification just for, you know, my own purposes. But yeah, so essentially 2 holes. You know, you kind of got to build these things to work with each other. I might add extra holes going inwards in case I need to loan this out to someone with shorter arms, cause then they'll be able to decrease the limb length, so that, like, if someone's got shorter arms than me, if there's extra holes, you can shrink their arms, and you can do it so if, like, their forearms shorter, or if they've got, you know, different proportions, they don't necessarily have to. You know what, you'll figure it out. You know, just trying to engineer a bit of extra versatility into this design. Sacrificing a little bit of historical accuracy for versatility. So the purists out there might turn their nose up. And, you know, of course I had washers for the rivets, and the whole thing is waxed to prevent corrosion, or at least, yeah, try to prevent corrosion, but yeah, that's it. It's very simple, very easy, simple design. Honestly, I'm not totally happy with it because I keep getting cracking at the point. So I have another super easy floating elbow cop design that is historically accurate, that is also German Gothic, that I want to try, but you know, this will be this isn't a bad place to start. Alright everyone, cheers.